Hello everyone, welcome back to our next episode of C Podcast, and today we have Kirti Sharma with us. Hello Kirti, how are you?
I'm good. How are you doing?
I'm good, thanks for asking, Kirti. So first of all, Kirti, I just give you a small explanation again about our podcast. So what we are trying basically with the podcast that we are trying to make today as well is to make sure we educate our listeners in terms of mental health, because as you know there's still lots of taboo going on. There's lots of stigma surrounding it. So we just want to make sure that the awareness is spread, and with the help of specialists like you, we want to make sure that the gaps are addressed. So again, welcome back to the C podcast, and let's have a fruitful conversation today. Right. So before we start, Kirti, I just want you to get yourself introduced to our listeners so that we can know you better.
Absolutely. So firstly, thanks to you and thanks to your team for doing this initiative, which is much needed in today's time. And interestingly, today is World Mental Health Day. Wishing
Right.
everyone who is watching, who will be watching, a very happy Mental Health Day. It is observed every year to increase the awareness around mental health. So I'll briefly introduce myself. I am Kirti Sharma. I'm an SEL educator, a counselling psychologist, TA practitioner, and I'm also an internationally certified career coach. I have a diverse experience in Tihar Jail, schools, colleges, corporates, and community development programs. I'm also the founder of PsyWithin, the name which means look within through psychology. Academically, I come from the background of MBA in HR as well as MA in psychology with relevant trainings. And I'm looking forward to serving more and more clients in my lifetime. Thank you for having me.
Interesting, very interesting actually. And you have mentioned certain SSL, something I didn't get that. But yes, I have heard you have mentioned the Tihar jail. That's what you have mentioned. So I have seen this in movies where let's say a counselor or let's say a psychologist, they go into and they try to understand the mindset of criminals, or let's say someone who has committed crimes. So I just want to understand how's your experience working in that particular zone.
It was a really interesting experience, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I went with the mindset that we are serving humans and they're not criminals per se, because we as outsiders, looking at movies and looking at the news, we think that everyone who is in Tihar jail are actually criminals, but they're not. There are a lot who are under trial, who are looped in because of false cases, and a person is not termed to be a criminal until and unless it's proven, right?
Proven guilt.
So when we're talking about that population, there are a lot of gaps which exist in the community because of which they are where they are. And plus, that's not only one identity that they hold. I've seen a lot of talent in Tihar jail within inmates who were housed there. And this was a jail number 5, 18 to 21-year-old male inmates. And the kind of talent that they have, which went unrecognized. And now that they're housed in a jail setting, they're not able to explore all those things. So it was very nice experience, both professionally as well as personally for me. Right.
Great. And yes, you have rightly mentioned no one's a criminal until proven. I think that's how the law works. And so when it comes to a psychologist, how does your mind work? Like, according to law, is just a criminal, or let's say a human being she's not a criminal until she is proven guilty. But then when it comes to a psychologist, what's your viewpoint on this kind of law that we have?
Laws are made by the people for the people, and laws are something which is not completely static. They keep evolving, they keep changing as the time comes. Interestingly, you must have seen in recent news where abortion laws are being changed in India because the changes are happening. We see a lot of upcoming generation behaving differently. Their attitudes are different, the cases are different. So firstly, laws are not universal and they're not static. They're made by the people. And when I see law as such, it is very interesting because we see one thing from different angles. We don't jump onto conclusion or statements. We always step back, analyze, look at the same thing from various angles, collect more evidence, give it time, and then give a judgment per se. However, a judgment again that is not static. That can also change. So that's a good learning for us also. Why to judge someone when we don't have enough evidence, or when we don't
Right.
know how that life is to that person. So I hope
Right. So I think
that mindset
with
helps all of
law,
us.
yeah, I mean, law psychology also, it has, because when it comes to law, let's say making rules, regulations, stuff like that, there are multi phases to it. You have to understand the whole of it, the whole plot, and I think that is a similarity between psychology as well. Because in psychology, let's say you're counseling someone, you don't jump into conclusions. You try to understand all of it. I think it has something common. I think, I'm sure.
Right, there are a lot
So
of overlaps also, I would like to add,
right,
because we have a stream of criminology, we also have forensic psychology, we have
right,
clinical psychologists working there, we have psychiatrists working there. So there are a
right.
lot of overlaps which exist, from psychology to law. There are a lot of overlaps.
Right. I
Right.
mean, contrary to popular belief, people don't know the importance or the role that a psychology or the psychologists play in terms of making laws as well. Because when it comes to we just think that you're basically counselors who talk to us, and you help us out if at all we are in depression or something like that. Let's say any kind of mental health issues. We don't understand the whole diaphragm. It's relatively very big when it comes to mental health. The professionals working in it's really big. I mean, counselors, psychology, it works in organizations, it works in corporates, it works in education system, it can work also, I mean, in the judicial system as well. So I think it has lots of bigger diaphragm that we are looking after, but then we are not properly aware of what exactly these things are. We just think that this is basically someone who will help me out if at all I'm in certain problems, but it's a very big thing. I hope people understand that, and thanks for getting that topic as well. I just wanted to make the listeners understand that it's not subjected to just one parallels. There are like lots of parallels. Right. Yeah. So, Kirti, again, we'll come back to our topic. You wanted to help our listeners understand about preventive mental health. Is that right? That was the topic that
Correct.
you decided to talk about, right? So, could you please explain me what is it? I mean, what exactly it is, and the meaning of it.
All right. So I'd like to step back and first understand what is health per se.
Right.
Because at times we think that, okay, this person is looking fine, that person is walking and talking fine, that person is okay. So coming on to the standard definition of health, which is given by a WHO, World Health Organization, it says that mental health includes our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. So there are three
Right.
facets to it. And I would personally like to also add spiritual well-being here.
Right.
So we can imagine ourselves like we are driving a car and there are four tires. And
Right.
if one tire deflates or goes for a toss, we are not able to balance our car. As simple as that. So when we're talking about this overall health, we have to keep in consideration that it's not only physical health, that it's not only mental health, that it's not only social well-being. It's also a combination of all these things.
Right.
And it's not only mere absence of illness, but it's also wellness, that we're able to progress in life and not only survive. And now talking about the mental health part, why we've chosen the topic preventive mental health care is, uh, we've all heard the term, right? Prevention is better than cure. Still, we don't do that. As a normal example,
Right.
something which everyone can relate to in COVID times, when we were asked to wear masks or get vaccinated or wash our hands or sanitize things around us, it did not guarantee that we will not get
Infected.
catch the infection,
Right.
right? But it was prevention. In a lot of cases, the rate came down, the intensity decreased, or the
Right.
probability of getting infected decreased. So that's
Correct.
what preventive mental health is. It's
Right.
to take right steps at the right time to prevent any difficult situations which are bound to happen in life.
Which might. Right.
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 Because
So.
life is full of ups and downs, right? We can't predict that हमें कुछ नहीं होगा आगे. Situations will come, but are we equipping ourselves beforehand? That's what preventive mental health is.
So that makes me wonder now that this is really something unique. I mean, I don't know if it's already there or it is something has come or has termed by you preventive mental health care. Because I wouldn't go to a psychologist, I wouldn't go to a counselor until and unless I feel that I have to. If at all I have certain problems, let's say I have been pressured with the kinds of my career, let's say, or job, or education, all of that. So I'd be going to a psychologist only when I know that something's wrong within me. But then this is a new catch here, which you think is prevention is better than cure, of course. So in order to not go, is it something that stops me to go to a psychologist, or these are the techniques that I can help myself out before getting into some trouble? What is it exactly? Where does it stand? Like, where does it stand in terms of steps?
All right. So let's take an example of COVID infection again. Because that's something which we all can relate to. That's something we've experienced. So that's why I'm taking this example. Trigger warning if anyone is feeling anxious about the topic. So prevention part was where we are getting ourselves vaccinating, keeping all the theories aside that it was a bioweapon and blah blah blah. But vaccination was a part of prevention.
Right.
Using a mask or sanitizing our hands, taking care of our hygiene was a part of prevention. In case someone gets infected, the first steps which we all were told is do gargles, take vitamin C, take basic multivitamins, take the starting stage of it.
Right.
Then the part came where the oxygen levels were shaky. Then we used to have oxygen supplements and everything, all of that. Then probably the stage of hospitalization came, and even in hospitalization, there were 3 to 4 stages where the intensity would increase. Now, when you look at this entire graph, everyone's immunity level is different. Everyone's factors are different. We can't expect a 65-year-old person to be completely fit, right?
Right.
Everyone's immunity level is different. However, if we take care of this preventive part very properly, the probability of going on to these levels would decrease. Simple logic. We're not saying it will be 100% preventive, but the probability will increase. Simple maths. In the same way, when we look at preventive mental health care, if we have specific trainings around social emotional well-being, or SEL, which is social and emotional learning, or you call it life skill education, or you call it anything to do with soft skills, at the right time, if we teach students how to cope with stress, how to cope with bullying, how to have better communications at the right time before they get bullied, would that not help them prevent certain issues in the future? Because when those get unaddressed, when the bullying starts, they go unaddressed. You have to firstly understand the person who is bullying also has some issues. The person who is tolerating the bullying, of course, that person is going through, that child is going through a lot, but even the child who is bullying has certain issues which were going unaddressed, right? So हमें उन स्टेजेस के बारे में मालूम है कि जब हम साइकोलॉजिस्ट की हेल्प लेते हैं, टीचर्स की हेल्प लेते हैं, बट हम वो वाला पार्ट निग्लेक्ट कर देते हैं. So that's the entire idea. The probability can reduce significantly.
Right. And I think are these being practiced in India? As in, on which scale is it being practiced in India? It is really important for education institutions as well. So do you think there's a proper frame where we are trying to understand this as well as a proper curriculum?
So, see, I have used the term preventive mental health. But if anybody would listen to this term, they will be like, why do we need anything around mental health? So क्या है, हमें same content अलग packaging में भेजना पड़ता है. So we have government schools में आपने happiness curriculum सुना होगा. This was an initiative of government of Delhi, and I think it was Labha Foundation who were doing this initiative, and they were addressing all the soft skills to children who are in primary schools, and they saw a great increase in their well-being and academics also. ऐसे ही there are a lot of other schools who are integrating all these things slowly and gradually with other names. The idea is the same, but they are taking up skills which they think are more important according to which school they are in. In the same way, it is in private schools also under the name of, say, SEL training or soft skills training or communication skills or team building, anything of that matter. It can either be a separate class for this thing, or it can be induced in subjects. Like, for example, someone is teaching maths. That teacher is assigning one group, one project, and they're ensuring that the communication within the group is nice. They're able to have nice teamwork. They're able to understand simple facets of collaboration. That's how they are teaching their subjects with the help of social skills. However, we have a very long way to go. I'm just
Right.
highlighting few initiatives which are there, but it needs to be integrated in every school. So there's a long way to go.
Right. And out of all the topics today, you have chosen this topic, right? So I just want to understand, is there any kind of personal agenda happened with you, or you might have seen something or have been experienced something or something like that, any kind of experience that had led you to talk on this particular or emphasizing on this particular topic?
Mm-hmm. So I'm very passionate about preventive mental health area. Yes, this was stemmed by my own personal experience, like anyone else's. Uh, and whenever I equipped myself with academic knowledge and experience, it made more sense. I'll take a small little example of one of the inmate from Tihar jail only. He was uh, he was under trial for a rape case, right? And when we were speaking to him and trying to understand, the criminal history, the family history, all of those things, because our idea was also to understand where did it stem from and how can we address it through life skill education. So we used to train them as a part of our rehabilitation program, and later we used to also intervene in reintegration to the society. Now in that we figured out very basic things were missing. For example, the idea of consent.
Right.
That boy did not even know that I'm supposed to ask someone to even touch her, right? And then the idea of masculine energy, boy being super smart and boys being dominant in personalities. Where are those things? How are those things taught? I mean, those are simple questions. If we look at any problem and try to break it down into several small parts and address those smaller parts, it will be easier for us to address the entire problem. What we do is we get overwhelmed by the entire problem. But we need to really step back, take a pause, step back. Where did it start from? And it isn't all of us. I'm just taking an example of that inmate, but this is everyone's story. Wherever we are standing today, we do have our own issues. But did we take a pause, go back in our memory lane and really figure out where did that problem stem from? And imagine if it was addressed at that point. We would have been in a better place. Having said that, struggles are a part of life and they make us a better person, definitely. But then all of us don't deserve that struggle, even if we don't want them, right? So we can always make things better for ourselves and others also.
Right. So, Kirti, roughly what might be your experience in psychology right now? Like, what might be your experience, number of years of experience?
So overall, I have 5 years of experience, and I've been able to cater to 12,000 clients till now. And I am aiming at increasing that in my lifetime as much as I can. And my main area of service has been towards preventive mental health care only. Yes, this term is not widely used. It is a part of preventive psychology, and we can have areas like social emotional learning or life skill education, or say soft skills or induction trainings. So it has different phases, but I have been covering both communities as well as individuals amongst these areas.
Right. So now I just want to understand you per se as a psychologist. When did this start? Like, when did you took this thing? When did you decide that you want to be a psychologist, or what exactly happened, and how are you into this profession right now?
So this takes me back to my MBA days. I did my MBA in HR and marketing, and when I was looking for a job in HR, I somehow figured out, because we used to do a lot of organizational psychology and consumer behavior, all of those, and those were topics which used to fascinate me a lot, because I used to think that एक कोई भी यूनिट हम बनाते हैं, कोई भी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन बनती है, इट इज मेड बाय स्मॉलर यूनिट्स. और अगर हम ऑर्गेनाइजेशन लेवल पे हर चीज देखते हैं, कंट्री लेवल पे, नेशनल लेवल पे चीजों को देखते हैं, we should take care of those small units also. Like our body is made up of cells. An
Right.
entire organization is made up of people, and those people are not only brains, they're not machines, they have a
Right.
heart, right?
Right.
So I used to look at it in that way, that you know, whatever trainings are happening, whatever policy making is happening, how would that relate to an individual? So that's how my fascination towards psychology started. And then I thought of pursuing it formally. So I did my MA psychology, and I coupled it up with a lot of certification programs, which included transactional analysis, international career coach certification, and several other certifications. So that gave me several angles to the same issue at hand, which was around human resource, because human resource is actually the most important resource here.
Right.
Because humans are someone who are not really at the top of the entire ecosystem, but it's a part of the ecosystem. At the same time, it affects adversely the entire ecosystem. We've all
Right.
seen what is happening in the environment, and it was primarily caused by humans because
Right.
of their egos. So
Right.
humans are some one resource which really needs a lot of time and energy here. Right.
Right. Right. So you seem very much mature. I mean, when it comes to the outlook that you have towards, let's say, humans, let's say the adversity or the effects that you're causing, and you've also rightly mentioned that human are the biggest resource right now, because we can't be integrated into different programs. We can't be made to do certain things just because we are ought to do. Again, it would depend on us internally. How do we feel? How do we want to pursue it or not? I mean, do we really need to do that, or do we really want to do that? And somewhere there, when all these things happen, you have mentioned that sometimes there are certain issues that might happen that might have triggered us to do something bad or good, anything it might be. So when it comes to your clients, let's say when you're dealing with a client, or let's say someone, I wouldn't use the term criminal, but let's say there's someone who has committed something, guilty of something, and now he just wants to go back to his life, start doing things. Of course, you major in preventive mental health, but how do you deal with clients like this, who have already been into a phase, they have did something worse, but that's again up to their situations, but now they want to get healed, they just want to get themselves healed. So how does is there something that preventive mental can help us there, or if it doesn't help there, what can we do there?
So in such situations, see, if someone realizes their mistake, firstly that's a good level of awareness that the person has. And if that person accepts that he or she has done this mistake and wants to repair that, it's a very good indication that the person has that awareness. At times the person does not even realize. And when we're talking about preventive mental health care, we can couple it up with some skill-based training, so that a person can, stand up on his own feet again. However, there are times when they need formal help. For example, counselling, psychologist intervention is required, or clinical psychologist is required, or psychiatrist is required. Because in certain cases, the trauma or the depth of the issue is very deep, and that needs specific intervention and specific therapy. And now there probably preventive mental health care would not work. So we have to see all these professions as something which is subsets of an entire system. One can't exist without the other. So it's like an entire system. It's not that this field is completely different, this field is completely different. Even clinical psychologists and psychiatrists, they work as a team, because at times talk therapy works, at times medications work, and it can be a combination, or it can also be either or. Now, when it comes to preventive mental health care, because since you've mentioned the area of the Tihar jail field which I've worked in, we have seen a lot of cases like that where the inmates had the realization and they want to improve. There, we used to use techniques like life skill education again and vocational training. Okay, now that you're here, you want to improve, what can we do about it? Can we upskill or reskill you with specific trainings? And can you again reintegrate in the society where you want to go? How can we bridge the gap from where you are right now to where you want to be? Because whatever has happened in the past, it's not a defining factor for your future. Just
Right.
because you have a memory of what has happened, that is why we think it is real. But what can happen can be definitely different.
Right.
There are lots of cases where I've seen great improvement. There are n number of cases, I would say, where they realize and they become a better person in future, and they rather help other people not get into difficult situations. So there are various cases where
Right.
preventive mental health care or that approach also helps. बिकॉज अगर किसी एक जने की लाइफ में कुछ प्रॉब्लम होती है, हम उससे सीख कर औरों को भी सिखा सकते हैं. As
Right.
simple as that.
Yeah. Analysis. Right. So Kirti, let's talk about a school. Let's talk about, let's say there's a school, and now we are trying to implement preventive mental, because since we are from Project C Foundation, there's also one of the initiative that we have, which is Project MAP, Project Mental Health Awareness Program, where we all also induced similar ideas, but of course the names are different, the package is different, and we're going to make sure that all the schools and education systems throughout India has this Project MAP within themselves, where we can make sure that a coexisting club can be created within the education institution. So that because when you go to different schools, you might see a sports club, you might see science club, many clubs basically, but you wouldn't find a mental health club. So that is what Project C Foundation is trying to do, to make sure that we have different clubs throughout India in all the education institutions, so that people or problems like this or mental issues, they get vocal. We can understand that in a platform where we have bigger audience as well, because when it comes to school, we have a bigger audience, and it is very important for us to induce these kind of skills when they are young, so that going forward in their life they can understand and improve as well. So
Wonderful.
yeah, so I just want to understand how can these kind of initiatives can actually help in the school, and if at all it can help, how can it cater to one individual? How can it actually cater to one individual? Because again, in a group, sometimes, let's say in a club, sometimes the vocality, or let's say the number of people you're reaching to might get very less, or someone who won't be given a chance, or let's say they don't get a chance to speak up. So how do we cater individually? Because a club is for the group, but then again, coming to individual terms, how can we do that? How can we go and cater to that one individual?
Firstly, congratulations for that initiative. It's a very nice initiative, and I would love to learn more about it, because it's a much needed platform that you're providing for both schools as well as students as such.
Right.
Now, your question was around how can we better this approach, right?
Yeah, better this approach, right?
Understand
Yes,
the situation. Yes. So we can look at it from two angles. First is the community level angle, say school level or club level, and one is the individual level. Firstly, we have to understand that when we are a part of group, any group for that matter, preferably a healthy group, we feel more connected, we feel seen, we feel heard. That's something which is very important. Just imagine, for example, we have an informal group of say 5 to 6 students who have difficult family background. Now, if that child or that student will be in a general situation, that child would feel left out. But if that person is a part of a small group, say 4 to 5 students, that person will feel heard. That person will have a sense of relatedness. What I am going through, I am not the only one in this entire world who's going through this. The next person is also going through similar situations. They can discuss their own problems, their own way of dealing with situations, and preferably come up with healthy coping mechanisms. So firstly, the idea of community is very strong. The idea of having a club in itself is very strong. It's much needed, because everyone has a need to be heard, right?
Right.
Now, when we're looking at from school level, firstly, you can always have both students as well as teachers or decision makers on the same table to understand what are the gaps.
Right.
Now, that will help you increase and improve your club's worth. How are they even, what's the worth of the club? And at an individual level, I would say you can always create a culture amongst your entire club. every individual should have a sense of feeling that they're contributing towards something, and it's not
Right.
only one club's name on their resume or something, right?
Correct.
For
Correct.
example, when I'm sure you have your own team, and if you can have, you know, any sort of ट्रेनिंग फॉर योर ओन टीममेट्स, कि अगर कोई भी मेंटल हेल्थ से रिलेटेड आपके फ्रेंड्स या आपके फ्रेंड्स के फ्रेंड को कोई इशू आता है, यू शुड बी द पर्सन हु दे कांटेक्ट फर्स्ट, राइट? आर वी इक्विपिंग आवर मेंबर्स विद दैट नॉलेज और नॉट? यहाँ पे प्रिवेंटिव मेंटल, यहाँ पे फर्स्ट एडर्स का रोल भी आता है, यहाँ पे एक ऑर्गेनाइजेशन या क्लब का कल्चर भी आता है कि क्या हम एक दूसरे का ध्यान रख पा रहे हैं, हाउ इज द कल्चर, आर वी एबल टू फॉरगिव समवन फॉर द मिस्टेक, and all of that will come when we're able to forgive ourselves, when we have worked on ourselves individually. So when that culture gets created, your club's worth, your club's brand, your club's word of mouth will definitely increase. So I think those fundamentals, when addressed, sky is the limit.
Right. No, so we were actually working on this, and I just wanted to understand if there's something that I'm missing out on, because as an organization that is growing now, tremendously, or let's say rapidly, at least for now, we don't want to leave any stone unturned, right? So we're just making sure that it gets right to the people and the way that we want to cater to. And I always had this question of individuality, because right, the club is done, but then coming to being vocal about it, because that single person, that one individual has to be vocal. We can't go rub it, or we can't do. I mean, we can't ask them, or we can't force them to open up. It has to be there from themselves. So I just wanted to understand what exactly can be done in those criteria. I mean, the club is fine, the organization is good, we have the right idea, but if at all that particular individual, they don't open up due to many factors, because few don't. Few are easy to open up, few don't. It takes lots for them to open up. So as you have rightly mentioned, I think this could be a right solution, because you have also taught me to understand how exactly my organization works, or the Project C Foundation, whether we are catering to that individual's concern, if at all they are making a mistake, whether we are forgiving or not. At least, I mean, if at all not, then are they even able to vocalize themselves or tell that they have committed a mistake, so that we can understand and then figure out what can be done. So I think I'll go back and check if we are vocal about it or not, the problems are sorted or not. And I guess, I think similar thing as I've mentioned, a group, when it comes to a group, everyone should feel as if they are contributing something. And if that feeling isn't there, that feeling of accomplishment, or that feeling of being embraced in a group of people, I think if that is missing, then the whole point of club falls apart. So I'll go back to my home. Sure. And thanks for your...
I would just like to add one more point here. When you're talking about being vocal about something, what is being vocal about? It's an expression. It's a way of communication. Right. And not everybody would like to communicate through words. Right. And not everybody would like to pick a mic and address a group.
Right.
सबका expression का level अलग होता है. One person may want to channelize their energy into sports. That is my way of dealing with things. थोड़ा healthy है. I know that person needs to address the other parts also, but I'm just giving an example. For example, one person is into art form, म्यूजिक हो गया, पेंटिंग हो गया, कुछ भी हो गया, एनी अदर सॉर्ट. कुछ लोग पोएट्री यूज करते हैं, कुछ लोग राइटिंग्स यूज करते हैं, कुछ लोग एक्सप्रेस करके वो अपने पास ही रखना चाहते हैं किताब बंद करके. सो द आइडिया इज एक्सप्रेशन जरूरी नहीं है कि वोकलाइज करके ही आए, और ये जरूरी भी नहीं है वो आपसे ही डिस्कस करें. There can be other people around that person who they're comfortable with. So हमें कभी भी किसी को पुश नहीं करना चाहिए कि हमसे ही शेयर करें. In the right platform, make them understand the importance of expressing, and ensure that they're doing it at least.
Right.
So I think that can also. I just wanted to add that little bit.
Thanks a lot. Maybe we can. We actually working on activities as well. Certain activities. As you have mentioned, open mics or any kind of communicative system. Maybe writing is one. Maybe we can add something like that as well. Thanks for letting me know that. And so I just want to understand again here that now vocalization is done, and we are trying to understand in any kind of way of communication that they might like. It can be writing, it can be reading, and stuff like that. Can we actually want to think that one day this would be completely done in an organized way, or one day we can find a world where people are actually being vocal in form again, or maybe is there a saturation point that one day it would be sorted out, the mental health problem that we have, the stigma that's there? Do you think that would be sorted out coming into the future, anytime, any day? Do you think that can happen, that sweet spot?
That's a really nice question. And I think the taboo part can definitely come down. And I personally don't think there is any taboo, honestly speaking. Why? Because कई बार कई लोगों को चीज़ें पता नहीं होती है, और जब पता नहीं होती है तो उसका टैबू बन जाता है, उसका स्टिग्मा बन जाता है. As simple as girls not having enough education about menstrual hygiene. As simple as women not knowing that breast cancer is real. As simple as men not realizing HIV is something which is real. Since it is not talked about, it is not normalized, hence there is stigma. Once we have awareness, we have enough resources, the stigma will not exist. I do believe stigma can come down, but I do not believe mental health concerns will be completely wiped out from the world. Because ये जो धरती है हमारी, इस जिस युग में हम जी रहे हैं, ये कलयुग बोलते हैं इसको, it is it is full of difficulties. वो आएगी ही आएगी, और वो सबको कहीं ना कहीं ट्रिगर करेगी ही करेगी. एट द सेम टाइम इट्स अपॉन अस कि हम उस प्रॉब्लम को छोटा करने की कोशिश ना करके हम खुद को स्ट्रॉन्ग कर लें. तो प्रॉब्लम्स तो आएंगी, दुनिया में कोई एक इंसान भी नहीं है जिसकी प्रॉब्लम्स नहीं आती है, बट इट्स ऑल अपॉन अस हाउ वी डील विद सिचुएशंस. और मेंटल हेल्थ कंसर्न्स ज़रूरी नहीं है कि जो बहुत सो कॉल्ड सुखी है या जो सो कॉल्ड बहुत रिच है उनको प्रॉब्लम्स नहीं आती है. प्रॉब्लम सबको आते हैं, वो अपनी हेल्थ कहाँ से लेते हैं उनका नाम अलग अलग होता है. In organization they have mentors and coaches which sound really cool. In sports they have coaches which sounds really cool. But in our life, if we tell anyone we have counselor, it may not sound good, right? So it's about looking at the same thing from a different angle. So my answer would be stigma can definitely reduce if we all stand up for what we think is right. But mental health concerns reduce होंगे, wipe out तो मुश्किल ही है, honestly, at least in our lifetime.
Right. I mean, yeah, क्योंकि when we look at it again, mental health, physical health, it's same. We can't guarantee that you would never get a stomach ache, right? I can't guarantee you that you would never have something like that, or a headache. So yeah, I think that will happen. But I'm sure people get equipped with what to do, when to do, how to do, in case that these kind of problems have come to them, or God forbid not, but if at all. Right, and thanks, Kirti. Thanks for your time. I wouldn't want to long it for long, but thanks a lot. Thanks for being with us. And yeah, I'm sure our listeners will listen to you and understand a lot. And we'll definitely talk about the Project Map initiative as well. Since you're interested, we'll just have a couple of discussions as well, because you're doing similar work as well. So I think we can actually talk about it and see what we can do together. Thanks, Kirti. Thanks a lot for being a part of us. And how was your experience talking to us?
I find it to be very curious and very well informed. So I like how you've navigated this entire podcast, and I wish lots of more podcasts around this topic, much needed one. And thank you for your initiative, and thanks to your entire team. It was a wonderful experience. Thank you.
Thanks, Kirti. Thanks a lot. All right, then I'll stop recording here.